Abraham Lincoln's life is a remarkable story of perseverance, resilience, and an unwavering commitment to justice and equality. His journey from a humble frontier upbringing to becoming the 16th President of the United States is marked by profound struggles, both personal and political, as he led the country through its darkest period, the Civil War, and paved the way for the emancipation of enslaved people. Abraham Lincoln was born on February 12, 1809, in a small, backwoods cabin near Hodgenville, Kentucky. His family lived in modest circumstances, and from an early age, Lincoln faced hardship. His father, Thomas Lincoln, was a farmer and carpenter who struggled to make ends meet, while his mother, Nancy Hanks Lincoln, came from an impoverished background. Abraham was the second child, with an older sister, Sarah, and a younger brother, Thomas, who died in infancy. When Lincoln was just 2 years old, his family moved to a farm in the Knob Creek Valley, where his earliest memories were formed. One such memory was of a flash flood that washed away the corn and pumpkin seeds he had helped his father plant, leaving a lasting impression of the unpredictability and hardship of frontier life. The Lincolns were not well off, and Abraham's father often struggled to maintain the family farm, which would lead to frequent relocations. In 1816, the Lincoln family faced a significant challenge. A legal dispute over the title to their Kentucky land prompted them to move to the Indiana frontier, where they settled on public land. The move was arduous, and the family lived in a makeshift half-faced camp, a crude shelter made of logs and boughs with one side open to the elements. The harsh conditions of frontier life, coupled with the grief of losing his mother in 1818 to milk sickness, a disease caused by drinking milk from cows that had grazed on poisonous plants, left a deep scar on the young Abraham. Despite these difficulties, Lincoln's stepmother, Sarah Bush Johnston, whom his father married in 1819, played a crucial role in providing stability to the family. She was a loving and caring woman who brought 2 daughters and a son from her previous marriage into the Lincoln household. Sarah Bush Johnston treated Abraham as her own, offering him the warmth and encouragement he desperately needed. She nurtured his curiosity and love for reading, which would become the foundation for his self-education. Abraham Lincoln's formal education was minimal. He attended school by Little's meaning that his education was sporadic and amounted to less than 1 year in total. However, Lincoln had a deep hunger for knowledge and a natural curiosity that drove him to learn on his own. He often borrowed books from neighbors, walking miles to acquire them, and would read by the light of the fire in the evenings. His love for reading helped shape his character and intellectual abilities, even though his surroundings provided little opportunity for formal learning. Lincoln read books such as Aesop's Fables, Robinson Crusoe, and the Bible, all of which had a significant influence on his moral and philosophical outlook. He admired George Washington and read Parson Weems' biography of Washington, which contributed to Lincoln's understanding of leadership and public service. His stepmother encouraged his reading habits, recognizing his unique potential and intelligence, even though neither of his parents had much formal education themselves. As he grew older, Lincoln developed a strong dislike for manual labor on the farm. He took odd jobs, including splitting logs to make rails for fences, a task that earned him the nickname the Rail Splitter. At the age of 21, Lincoln left home and ventured into the world, determined to make something of himself. In 1830, Lincoln and his family moved to Illinois, where he worked on his father's new farm. However, Lincoln had no desire to become a farmer. He took on various jobs, including working as a store clerk and postmaster, and even tried his hand at surveying. His life in New Salem, Illinois, was pivotal, as it was here that he began to shape his future career. During this time, Lincoln enlisted as a volunteer in the Black Hawk War of 1832, a conflict between the United States and Native Americans. Although he did not see any combat, his election as captain of his company marked his first taste of leadership. After the war, Lincoln decided to run for the Illinois state legislature, but was defeated in his first attempt. However, he remained determined and ran again in 1834, winning a seat in the legislature as a member of the Whig Party. Despite his victory, Lincoln realized that his lack of formal education was a disadvantage, so he turned to the law as a means to advance his career. He began studying law on his own, borrowing books from practicing attorneys and teaching himself the fundamentals of the legal system. In 1836, he passed the bar examination and became a licensed attorney. As a lawyer, Lincoln developed a reputation for fairness, honesty, and integrity, qualities that would later define his political career. He was known for his ability to simplify complex legal issues and his dedication to justice. His legal career flourished, and he soon became one of the most respected lawyers in Illinois. However, Lincoln's ambition did not stop at the legal profession. He had his eyes set on a larger stage. Abraham Lincoln's early political career was marked by his firm opposition to the expansion of slavery. In the 1840s, as a member of the U.S. House of Representatives, Lincoln began to voice his concerns about the institution of slavery, which was deeply rooted in the Southern states. Although he was not yet an abolitionist, Lincoln believed that slavery was morally wrong and posed a threat to the future of the United States. After serving one term in Congress, Lincoln returned to Illinois and focused on his law practice. However, the passage of the Kansas-Nebraska Act in 1854 which allowed new territories to decide for themselves whether they would permit slavery, reignited Lincoln's political ambitions. He viewed the act as a dangerous step toward the expansion of slavery, and it compelled him to re-enter the political arena. In 1858, Lincoln ran for the U.S. Senate against Stephen A. Douglas, one of the most prominent politicians of the time. Although Lincoln ultimately lost the election, the debates between him and Douglas garnered national attention. The famous Lincoln-Douglas debates, which centered on the issue of slavery, showcased Lincoln's eloquence and his commitment to preserving the Union. It was during these debates that Lincoln delivered his famous House Divided speech, in which he declared, "A house divided against itself cannot stand. I believe this government cannot endure permanently half slave and half free." Lincoln's stance on slavery and his belief in the preservation of the Union earned him widespread support in the northern states. In 1860, he was nominated as the Republican Party's candidate for president. Despite facing fierce opposition from southern states, Lincoln won the election, becoming the 16th President of the United States. Lincoln's election in 1860 was a turning point in American history. His victory was met with outrage in the southern states, many of which feared that his presidency would lead to the abolition of slavery. As a result, several southern states seceded from the Union, forming the Confederate States of America. This marked the beginning of the Civil War, a conflict that would test Lincoln's leadership and resolve like never before. As president, Lincoln's primary goal was to preserve the Union. He believed that the United States was more than just a collection of individual states. It was a nation bound together by shared values and a common purpose. Despite the immense pressure and criticism he faced, Lincoln remained steadfast in his commitment to keeping the country united. The Civil War was a brutal and bloody conflict that claimed the lives of hundreds of thousands of Americans. Lincoln faced numerous challenges, including military defeats, political opposition, and the constant threat of assassination. However, he never wavered in his determination to see the war through to its conclusion. One of Lincoln's most significant achievements during the war was the issuance of the Emancipation Proclamation in 1863. This executive order declared that all enslaved people in the Confederate States were to be set free. Although the proclamation did not immediately free all enslaved individuals, it was a crucial step toward the abolition of slavery in the United States. It also transformed the Civil War from a battle to preserve the Union into a moral crusade to end slavery. Lincoln's leadership during the war earned him the respect and admiration of many, but it also made him a target for those who opposed his policies. Despite the mounting pressures, Lincoln remained focused on his vision for a united and free America. As the Civil War drew to a close in 1865, Lincoln's dream of a united and free nation seemed within reach. However, just days after General Robert E. Lee surrendered to Union forces, effectively ending the war, Lincoln's life was tragically cut short. On the evening of April 14th, 1865, while attending a play at Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C., Lincoln was shot by John Wilkes Booth, a Confederate sympathizer. Lincoln was taken to a nearby boarding house, where he remained unconscious throughout the night. Early the next morning, on April 15th, 1865, Abraham Lincoln died. His death plunged the nation into mourning, and he became the first U.S. president to be assassinated. His loss was felt deeply by the American people, who saw him as the leader who had preserved the Union and ended the scourge of slavery. Abraham Lincoln's legacy is one of courage, compassion, and an unwavering commitment to justice. His leadership during the Civil War helped preserve the Union and set the stage for the abolition of slavery in the United States. The 13th Amendment, passed in 1865, officially abolished slavery, fulfilling one of Lincoln's most cherished goals. Lincoln is remembered as one of the greatest presidents in American history. His speeches, including the Gettysburg Address and his second inaugural address, are considered some of the most eloquent and inspiring words ever spoken by an American leader. His ability to articulate the values of democracy, freedom, and equality has left a lasting impact on the nation. Today, Lincoln's image is immortalized in the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., where visitors from around the world come to pay tribute to his life and legacy. His story is a testament to the power of perseverance, the importance of integrity, and the enduring strength of the human spirit. Abraham Lincoln's life and achievements continue to inspire generations of Americans to strive for a more just and equal society.